Hello again from the Play Space Live. Keith Apollone from Play Games. Sam is producing tonight's show as usual. Tonight is Game Lab 7. We're going to show you some of the things we've been working on behind the scenes here at Play HQ. It's kind of a pull back the curtain moment where you get to see what we're doing secretly. We've done this 6 times in the past. It's always fun. I think it's my favorite show to do. It's kind of a casual show, sort of informal, but then again, which of our shows aren't informal and casual, right? Now, in the past, we've set the time for 1 hour. It's a 1 hour show with a 10-minute limit on talking about any one game or game idea that we have in development, with the games pulled at random from a pile of games. Same format this year, except we won't be drawing at random to hopefully save a little time. Sam and I are going to be changing places here because several of the games we're showing tonight are from Sam's Spicy Studios. So I'm going to do 2 games. Then Sam will take over behind the microphone and the camera to show 3 games that he's been working on. And then in the remaining time, I will show another game or 2, depending on the time. So I guess we should get the timer rolling. We'll have a 2-minute warning to wrap things up. And then we'll, lay the hammer down and move to the next game, no matter where we are in the description of it. So we're going to start right now. First, we're going to start with, are we on the table cam or are we on the table cam? All right, so we're going to start with Fury Hardball. This is something we're going to be showing. Obviously, this is not a new game. This is nothing new. What's new is the pitch deck that we're going to try out in Milwaukee next weekend, and I'm going to show that to you right now. So the way the game works is, you've got, there's a big pile of stuff in here. We got the Furious action board, but the main action of the game comes from the swing board here. And you set up your players, you roll a d10, and it is sort of a rock, paper, scissors sort of thing. Not exactly rock, paper, scissors, because really in rock, paper, scissors, one of the things wins, 1 loses, and 1 ties. And in Fury Hardball, it's more like 1 wins and 2 loses. So the thing about playing head-to-head, because the solo mode works great. The cards each have an indicator on them to select the pitch and select the swing. So you can just kind of put the game on autopilot and sit back and watch it solo. So it works great solo with this mechanic. When you're playing head-to-head, you're choosing the pitches and the swings, manually. I'm choosing my pitch, you're choosing your swing, and then we reveal it and we roll the d10. Now, the problem with this is that if you roll a 1, 2, 3, or a 4, you're going to go to the pitcher or the fielder's or the batter card, regardless of what the pitch is or the swing is. Now, that works great for solo mode. It brings in a lot of things. But for a head-to-head game type thing, it's not that satisfying to have correctly diagnosed the call. I figured out what you're going to do. I know you're going to take a big swing, so I'm throwing heat or junk, and and I get it right, and then I roll a 4. It's on the batter card anyway. So with that in mind, I developed this pitch deck. I basically distilled this chart down. This isn't really centered, is it? This is more centered. Basically, distilled this chart. See, this has got like dice rolls, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. And then each of these is like a little mini grid of big swing, reaching swing, no swing, heat pitch, stuff pitch, or junk pitch. So you got 9 possible results on each of these die rolls. So what I did was I simplified it so that each card has basically converted this to these 30 pitch cards. There's junk pitches, there's stuff pitches, there's heat pitches. I named them too. You got the hot curveball, you got the Eiffel Tower for the junk pitch, which is a pitch with a look. You've got you've got the sweeping slider, you got the blast from the past, heat pitch. So each of these pitches has a name, and each pitch has 4 possible outcomes depending on whether the batter swings or if there's a base runner on base, whether they're trying to go for the home plate and steal home. And so you're dealt 4 of these cards, and those are the 4 pitches that you have to choose from for that at bat. So I'm going to deal out 4 cards here. These would be the 4 cards I would start with. So I'm facing Travis Jansen, and I think he's going to go for a big swing. I look at what I've got here. I could do a zinger if I do this. This would be the fast forkball stuff pitch. However, if he fools me with a reaching swing, it's going to be a pinger. Now, if this were the later in the game and he's got a base runner, that makes it even more difficult. Now, of course, I don't have any cards here that will basically have a look. So that limits me. I have to make my choices based on these 4 cards. And so what happens is I'll choose my card. Let's see, I'll go with this one here. and Travis announces he's doing a reaching swing, and I immediately know it's a zinger. There's no D10 roll or anything. Now, if I have to roll, I do occasionally have to roll on the batter card, or the pitcher card, the slinger card, or the fielder's card. Those haven't been, outlawed or ruled out of this variant of the game, but it does get to that point very quickly by just pitching these cards. So that after I get the 2 outs, I draw another card to add to my stash. Now I've got the nuclear strike in my repertoire here, and I notice I have 2 heats and no junk here, which, if Travis knew that, would be to my disadvantage. So I mean that's how it works. We're gonna try it out in Milwaukee next weekend. I'm gonna do a little. They're gonna do a little mini season with 8 or 12 people, and just try this out and see how it works. I've tried it out at Dice Tower, tried it out with Grant Fines a couple weekends ago, and it works. Seems to work really well, but I really want to put it to an extended test, so we'll do that in Milwaukee next weekend. Hope to see you there, by the way. All right, so that is my first game. My second game is a game that let me get a sip of my LaCroix, the official beverage of the play space.
You're ahead of schedule, by the way. That was only 7 minutes.
I'm trying to give us a little extra time at the end. All right, so this is restart the clock. Yep. 10 minutes to show this election game. Now, we've talked about election games for a while now. I was having a discussion with Marco Scola a few months ago about a possible, election game. And it is election season, so it's kind of a every 4 years type thing. Now, this is something I dug out from the crawl space when I was cleaning it out last year. This is a game that I created for my kids when we were homeschooling back in 2000. This is based on the 2000 election, Bush and Kerry. And we made this game here. Sam probably remembers playing it. It's homeschooling, and it taught basically how the electoral college worked. And it used, you put chips on the states. We each got a certain number of chips, and we would take turns placing chips. And if you, like for example, if you had a state if you put a blue state, if you had a blue state and you put a red chip in it, Bush would win that if he flips 3 coins and all were heads. So it was not likely, but possible. So if I'm playing the red party, I've got an option. Do I want to try to win like California on a Hail Mary type thing by putting a chip in there? And then as the blue player is like, do I want to leave that chip in there, or do I want to take it out by putting one of my own? So anyway, that was the basic gist of the game. And, of course, times have changed 20 or 25 years later. The politics are a lot more rancorous. So we're going to dispense with the red and blue, and I went with orange and purple. This is a non-political game. There's no politics to this game. It's purely...
You can kind of hold that up at an angle so that it doesn't catch the glare as much.
This, you mean?
Yeah.
All right, maybe that'll work better. This is just the grid, and it works. It actually is not too unlike the Fury Hardball thing. It's not exactly rock paper scissors, but in other words, we've distilled it down to 5 different choices in your campaign arsenal. You can fundraise, you can advertise, you can mudsling, you can stump, or you can make deals. And so I'm going to choose mine. We're each going to take a candidate, a party. I'm the purple party, let's say, and let's say I choose to make deals, and you choose to stump. We cross-reference this, and this will tell me that I'm going to gain 3 chips by deal making, and you're going to place 1 chip on the board somewhere. Oh, I forgot to mention. So the way this works is the battleground states will be random. It'll be different each game. You will shuffle these up, and you'll put. I've gone back and forth. I thought, well, why don't you roll 2 dice, and that's how many battleground states there are. Could be 2, could be 12. Make each election different, or maybe we just have a static number of battleground states. We'll do that for this demonstration really quickly. So we'll put out Arizona and Nebraska. Let me move my grid here, and Mississippi, West Virginia, Idaho, and Connecticut. Those are our battleground states that are in play. The other states are all out of play. So what we would do is we would add up the electoral votes, subtract that from 538, and then we would divide whatever's left over in half, and we would each have exactly half. So whoever wins these wins the election. So in the example I just gave. I'm making deals. You're stumping. I'm going to gain 3 chips, which that's not placing them. You know, in order to affect the election, you have to place them, but you do gain them. So you start out with, let's say, 5 chips, and now I've got 8 chips. Now I've got to figure out ways, choose with these different choices to get those chips that I've gained on the board. Now, there are a number of different subtle strategies you can play. You can play in such a way as to limit your opponent's ability to raise chips, to raise funds. Each of these options has some things that they're good against and some things that they're not good against. And so you would take turns. You play probably 6 or 7 turns. Placing chips or removing chips, and then at the end you would survey the board. Here are the chips. You would survey the board and use the decider die, because it is kind of a decision. I think they always say decision 24 or whatever. So you'd roll the dice, and that would tell you who would win. But if you had a chip in there, it would basically it would break any tie. I'm undecided as to whether I want to leave the option for a loss. Depending on whether if I'm the purple player and I put a purple chip in Mississippi and I roll an orange decider, do I want to say that the orange wins that state? What I probably would say is that it removes the chip and then I roll again. So they could continue to they could have a chance to win, but it wouldn't be likely. Anyway, that's how it would work. And I remember playing this with our kids, and it was fun. And it was actually pretty accurate too. So I think it would be a quick, fun, educational type game to show how the electoral system is constructed and works. So that would be the election game. All right, I'm going to get out of the way.
Why we're not going to release that?
Well, I don't know. I'm not saying that we're not going to release it. We could release it. There's no reason why we wouldn't release it. I mean, we've stripped all the. There's let's face it. There's a lot of politics have become sort of a spectator sport, and we really don't want to go there. But the whole electoral college thing is interesting, and this game presents it in such a way that it's kind of politics free. So I wouldn't be opposed to putting this out. We may make it a freebie or something, or if we could polish it up enough to add some more game to it, and maybe make the components really nice, we might offer it as a summer type special sort of thing. It hasn't, it needs more playtesting, obviously, but it's not ready to release now. But I think the concept is solid, and it is fun. So that is Battleground States is my working title for that game. All right, Sam, I'm going to let you jump in here. I don't think I used up my 10 minutes that time either.
No.
Good. Well, we're a little bit ahead. I'm going to get out of the way here, let Sam move behind the mic, and show you his games. It should leave me time to show you the remaining 2 games on my list. And give me time to enjoy my LaCroix.
What's up? Hey, everybody. It's been a while since I've been behind the camera here on the PLAAY YouTube channel, at least. I've been behind the camera quite a bit on my own Twitch channel and YouTube channel. But if you haven't been catching those, then it's probably been a little bit. So, hello. Good to see you again. I guess we're just going to jump right into games. So I've got 3 games to show here. Dad, if you want to start a timer on your phone maybe for 8 minutes, just so
All right.
we'll do that. Don't get too caught up here.
Reading the comments.
Keith's reading the comments. He is behind the keyboard right now, so if you have something that you want to say to Keith, now is your chance.
All right, 8 minutes are starting now. 8 minutes are starting.
All right, I think I'm going to start with this. So, this is, I think, probably the most polished game that we've got in our on our lineup tonight, because this is actually almost the final thing. This is Myth Mash. Let's see, how is this on camera here?
It's good.
We're seeing this? Okay. This is Myth Mash. This is this is the full box. This is a full box version. This is heading to mass production. I'm getting ready with all the files right now. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Obviously, this is just a sample of the full box we printed out. No back yet. I've showed Myth Mash a couple times on the Game Lab, on previous Game Lab segments, and so the gameplay here isn't anything too different, but it has changed a little bit since the last time we got into it. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to kind of show where it's at now, and also show off the new artwork and components and stuff like that. So here's our rule book. This is also kind of in flux. As you can see, some blank spaces in here still, but cool little rule book that I'm working on putting together. Not super important for gameplay purposes, though. These are the cards. There will also be some tokens that come with this game when it's fully produced. Don't have the tokens yet, though. Sorry about that. If you were really looking forward to tokens tonight, sorry. Maybe next time. So this is Mythmash. If you haven't seen this game before, I describe it as a trick-taking, deck-building card battler. So it's a 2-player head-to-head game. I'll quickly go over the gameplay here, while also trying to show off some of the cards a little bit. If you're familiar with any 3 of those genres, then this will click with you instantly. It's trick-taking, deck-building, card battling. If you're not, then that's fine too. You'll get it eventually, very quickly. So both players start with a starting deck, as you commonly do in deck-building games. So we both start with these same stack of 7 starter cards. The goal of the game is to collect these treasure cards. So this is the treasure deck, and there's 3 types of cards in here. The treasure, which I just mentioned. Then there's heroes. And then there's also these mashup cards. So I'll go over each of those really quickly. So treasure is just points. So this is, like I said, the goal of the game. You want to collect 15 points of treasure. As soon as somebody collects 15 points of treasure, they win the game immediately. So this gold, for instance, is worth 3 points. As soon as you win it, it's yours for the rest of the game. You set it off to the side. It's just points. The next type of card is heroes. So heroes will get added to your deck and help you win more battles later on down the line. So you'll start with some heroes, soldiers, knights, and summoner, one summoner. But they're all pretty weak, and so eventually you're going to try to get rid of those guys and swap them out with stronger heroes that you win from this deck. So that's what the heroes are. But also, I should go over briefly what's on these cards. So they all have a name, obviously. They have a faction. The faction doesn't really come into play unless you're using this special extra rule thing, the faction abilities, which we're not even going to touch on tonight. But that is something that's there. Then the most important part of the card is this power number right here. So Alice has 1 power. And then they also have an ability. So this text will get triggered when you play the card during a battle. More on that as we move forward. And then the last type of card is these mashup cards. So whenever we see a mashup card come out of this deck, we actually don't battle over it. Instead, this is kind of like the catch-up mechanic that's been built into the game now. Introduces a bit of chaos. So whenever you see one of these, the player who is peaceful, which we'll also explain shortly, has an interesting decision to make. They either swap hands, swap decks, or swap discard piles with their opponent. They get to pick which one, but they have to do one of them. So that always is a fun thing to do. So we'll shuffle up this deck. I'll play a quick. I think I'm probably running out of time here.
3.5 minutes.
3.5 minutes left on Mythmash. Okay. So we'll see how much game we can play in 3.5 minutes. Oh, the last thing to explain here is the peaceful card. So this peaceful card is going to get passed back and forth between us over the course of the game. Whoever loses the battle gets the peaceful card for the next battle. And there's a couple advantages of having the peaceful card, of being peaceful. First of all, you get to bid second, which is nice. You can see how many cards your opponent bid before you make your bid. You also will win ties, which is, of course, nice. And then you'll also control those mashup cards when they come out. You'll get to make the decision on what we're swapping when that happens. So that's the advantage of that. Both start with the same cards here. I'll play open-handed just because it doesn't really matter here. The game is played over a series of rounds. Each round is comprised of 3 battles. So we take 3 cards from the top of the treasure deck, set them face down here. These are the 3 cards that we're going to be battling over. And we have these 7 cards in our hand to battle over them. You can't, there's no drawing during the rest of the round. You only have these 7 cards to bid on these 3 cards. So let's go ahead and flip one over. Okay, so we would be bidding on Mina and Morrow here. This is a hero, and they have 1 power. And when you play them, you get to humble a card in play and weaken a card in play. I don't have time to explain what those special conditions are going to do here, but let's say that I really want Mina and Morrow. I'll play 3 cards for my hand. So I'd play these face down, and then my opponent would say, okay, I think he's bluffing. I think he's just got 3 soldiers, so I'll play 2 soldiers, and 1 knight. So then after we both placed our bids, we flip these cards over, and we just compare power. So I've got 5 power here because I played 2 knights and a soldier. My opponent has 4 power because they played 2 soldiers and a knight. We're just looking at this power number here. So since I have more power, I would win the battle. I take Mina and Morrow. They go to my discard pile.